Good evening. Welcome to the February 26th, 2024 City Council meeting. Please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Argenzio.
Here.
Here. Councilor Giannino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Here.
Here. Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here. Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. And Council President Cogliandro.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of February 12th.
Madam Clerk, one moment. May I have permission to speak from the chair? Point of personal privilege. I would like to acknowledge the passing of the former Chief of Planning and Community Development, Bob O'Brien, and ask that everybody please join us in a moment of silence.
Calendar item number 3, the Revere Police Traffic Division will appear before the City Council to discuss the regulations concerning small motorized bikes and scooters. The vehicles have become a serious safety hazard to drivers and pedestrians.
Do we have anyone here from the Traffic Division? Chief. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, councilors. Thank you. David Callahan, the Chief of Police, City of Revere, 400 Revere Beach Parkway. This has been an ongoing problem that started in the last couple of years that's increasingly gotten worse with the scooters and the, the motorized bicycles. There are some rules and regulations on them, but there's not a lot. And, they have to have helmets. With the scooters, they need to be registered. It's once a year. It's at the end of March, I believe, the 31st. Every year the plates expire. But one thing I see, there's no insurance on them. So if they get involved in an accident and they don't have a policy, it's a problem. It's on the other vehicle thing. But, the crux of the problem we have, they, like I said, they have to wear helmets and everything else. But the biggest problem is they don't stop for the police. We've had many instances where we stop or attempt to stop them because they're operating erratically, they're not following the rules of the road, they're driving on the sidewalks. We don't have compliance. Some people just take off and drive away. Wrong way in traffic, driving over sidewalks, they're endangering the public. And now it puts us in a position, because if we try to stop them, they don't stop for us. We have policies and procedures. We're not supposed to pursue them, because there's more harm that can be done than good over something that starts off as a misdemeanor offense. And we've had a couple incidents where people have crashed in scooters because either they're not wearing a helmet or they're wearing a helmet that's not approved. It's not a legitimate helmet. So with that, they have no protection. So it's a challenging issue for us. I have Sergeant Rose here. He can address some things a little more in depth for you on the legality of it, because he deals with it every day. But the one thing I'll close with is we've seized a lot of them, stopped people that it's either unregistered, they're unlicensed, other issues with the scooter. They don't even come and get them. A couple of the local tow companies have dozens of them that are just abandoned down there, and it's cheap transportation. So it's a challenging thing. We're going to try to, deal with them as the weather gets warm and more people have them out. We're going to try to do some enforcement, but it's challenging, like I explained some of those reasons. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'll gladly answer them. And then I'm going to have Sergeant Rose come up and you guys can really ask him questions.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chief, thanks for coming up tonight. My issue isn't with, and they are an issue, but the motor scooters, like a moped,
Yep.
rather than the electric motor scooters that they're riding today, the stand-up scooters. Those seem to be a bigger issue to me with the kids in and out of traffic, younger aged kids driving around with them. I don't know how we do it, but Washington, D.C. got it locked down, and it's a danger. I think those are a bigger issue than the moped-type scooters, to be honest.
Councilor McKenna.
So, Chief, what do you need from us? Tell me what you need from us, because I see it as a danger. My friend, a guy on a scooter hit her purposely, and she had a lease car. She was leasing a car, and he was claiming that he was hurt. And when the police got into his record, he had a record a mile long. So they didn't charge her with anything, except she has to fix her own car. But what do you need from us? Because whatever you need from us, we'll do it for you. We should have, these scooters should have license plates on them. They should be registered. I mean, tell us what you need from us.
Which I always have from the council, and we do with the police department here. We're very fortunate. We do have your support, and that's what we need, and we're going to try to do some proactive enforcement. And now that the weather's getting warm, and if the weather continues to be warm, we're going to try to enforce the regulations with these scooters and motorized bicycles. But like I said in the beginning, the difficulty is when they don't comply. And we're going to try to do our best. But if you can just continue to support us and understand what we're doing, and we're going to err with the side of caution and not endanger everyone in the community over a misdemeanor offense on a scooter or an electric bike when the person's not wearing a helmet. So if we know they fall, they're in trouble. They're probably going to be seriously injured. And that puts the liability back on the city and the police department.
As a city, can we make amendments for these, if people register, or is that the Registry of Motor Vehicles that do that? As a city, can we make regulations on what these motorists do? Excuse me. Thank you. Can we make regulations on what these scooters, you know, the people that own these scooters do as a city? Or is it the Registry of Motor Vehicles?
It's more the state legislator that they can enact probably different laws. Like, I've been a proponent since the beginning of the scooters. They should have liability insurance. In my understanding, they don't. They're not forced to have it. Like when you register your car, before you register it, you have to go see the insurance man and get insurance. And you need coverage. They do not have coverage. And, you know, we had an incident, and I'll go real quick. A person on a scooter that was unregistered, driving down Revere Street, and at the same time, a poor woman is getting off the MBTA bus. He's passing the bus improperly in the bike lane, and he strikes the woman as she's getting off the bus. And she had some significant injuries to her legs. He doesn't have insurance on the, you know, the moped, so that's a challenging situation.
Thank you. Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for coming. The small electric scooters that you see that you stand up on, is anything, is it allowable to be on the sidewalk at any time with those things? Or they have to be in a bike lane? Can anything motorized go down sidewalks?
No.
No, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Giannino.
Good afternoon, Chief. How are you?
Well, thank you.
I know a few years back, about 15 years or so ago, there was an ordinance on the books in regards to the scooters. I think it went south with the courts and stuff at the time. If we can't either revisit that ordinance and try to rewrite it again to be in line with what's happening today, I'd work with you guys try to work with it and try to get something that's workable and enforceable. As far as chasing the scooters and the bikes, I'm against 100%. I mean, chases have three outcomes. You catch them, they get away, or someone gets hurt. And most of the time, someone gets hurt. And the liability involved, we don't need the liability involved with that. As far as tracking them down, when the calls come in, can we try to find out where they're coming out of the scooters as opposed to where they are and where they're going? A lot of times neighbors will call up and say, listen, there's a scooter going by every night. It goes by the house, and it's bothering me. Find out where they're coming from and just go to the houses. Or get them when they pull over in the gas stations and fill up on the sidewalks, check them, and then tow them and get them off the streets.
Counsel, I'm going to let Sergeant Rose address that, because we had a long in-depth conversation this afternoon about it, and he'll be able to answer it thoroughly for you folks, because he's ready to go. Sergeant Rose?
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sergeant Rose, Sergeant James Rose. I'm the head of the traffic division at the Revere Police Department. I'm here to address the scooter moped issue. Unfortunately, I come with a lot of questions and a few answers as far as how to enforce the ongoing issue that we have with them. Chris, I didn't want to cut you off, but what were you saying as far as the question?
At one time, there was an ordinance on the books in regard to electric scooters. It was about 15 years or so ago. I don't know what happened when, I think someone challenged it back then, and the courts might have thrown it out when they started doing electric vehicles and stuff like that. I'd like to revisit that and maybe rewrite it again, if we could.
Okay, as far as the electric scooters, with them not being a motor vehicle, I'm not sure how they're regulated. I've yet to see anything come across my desk as far as any literature or paperwork that addresses those. The larger issue at hand that I see would be the scooters during the warm months and the mopeds coming in, large groups of them, and driving erratic throughout the city. And the issue that we're having with them is when we go to initiate the motor vehicle stop, the majority of them are not stopping for the police, which makes it, in turn, hard for us to enforce anything. Now, other cities and towns have utilized different methods to try to get them off of the street, because the ones that we're getting off the street aren't the ones that are registered, where you have somebody going to work in the morning and that's their means of transportation. It's the ones that are being operated by mostly youth that don't have a license or a permit. And it starts off having fun, but it ends up very dangerous. And it's dangerous. It's a double-edged sword for everybody. The police pursue them, and they crash. Now the police are at fault, and it's a huge liability for the city. We don't do anything about it, and they hit a pedestrian, or they hit somebody, an innocent bystander, and hurt or killed them. Well, we didn't do our job. So it's definitely a very complicated situation. Going back to other cities and towns and their methods that they use, Fall River was using drones to follow them around and see where they end up going to park them and store them at night. That was one method they were using. Having officers undercover in just an unmarked car to watch and follow them till they get to a point where they stop, maybe a gas station or park, somewhere where they congregate, and then moving in, and there's no danger involved in that. Some may take off, but you're likely to get many of them at one time. But again, I couldn't agree more with it being a huge issue for the city and a danger. It's a public safety issue, and I'm be more than happy to take any questions that anybody has for me. Hopefully I can answer.
Thank you, Sergeant Rose. Councilor Yaramio.
Sergeant, I guess, can you talk to me, you said there were some cities already using drones and stuff to try to regulate. What other regulations have you seen from other cities, or would it make more sense than for us as a city to, or as a council to maybe set the table by putting a working group together in the administration, you and maybe economic development or something, to figure out some recommendations for us as we kind of consider this something that works for the police, that works for the way we move people around in the city? Or do you already have those recommendations at hand?
Well, my only recommendations, again, the majority of the ones that are the issue, a public safety issue, are the youth that are on them. So one way to go about it would possibly be, getting the message out through the high schools and social media to let them know that there's a penalty and it's not okay just to take off from the police.
Are most of these young people from our city, and the ones we have apprehended, I guess?
That's mixed. So I've apprehended them from Revere, from Chelsea, from Lynn, from Everett. It's an all-around problem. So it's not just a Revere issue.
Got it.
But just to go back to what I said earlier, I think that the use of officers in undercover vehicles, because what happens is this, let's just say they pull over at the gas station on Broadway and there's 8 of them there. Most of them have like ski masks on and they got their faces covered for whatever reason. But they're on the lookout. So as soon as they see that black and white police car, they're on the move and they're gone. And that's pretty much the end of our enforcement. It stops there. We have a very stringent no pursuit policy as far as any motor vehicle overall, but very more in depth with the motorcycles, mopeds, scooters, motorized bicycles, et cetera. So there are ways to go about enforcing it. It's just been very, very difficult to enforce it.
Have you had communications with maybe some of the surrounding cities, Winthrop, Chelsea, to see how to maybe figure out a regional approach to this? Because it sounds like this is more of a regional issue, maybe a state issue, but, we can make a call to the traffic, sergeant in Chelsea or Winthrop if they have one.
Yeah, we're always in touch with each other. It's just nobody's come up with the golden solution on how to solve the issue. Now, Boston, they have a bigger department. They have specialized units. I did a joint effort with them a couple of years back where their special unit, through the use of social media, tracked down that there was going to be a meeting, a large group of them here in Revere. So they all met at Ambrose Park, and there was probably about 100 of them. And they knew what time they were coming back because they were meeting here, untrailering them, and going to go for a ride through Boston, which that particular day it made the news. And they were on driving through Faneuil Hall erratically and stuff like that. But the Boston Intelligence Unit knew that they were coming back here to trail them at about 9 o'clock. So in a joint effort, we waited till they came to that dead-end street. And at that point, we moved in, and all of them were towed. So it was a very successful night, getting them off the street.
It sure does sound that way. And to that point, then, I think, I don't know, I guess for consideration for the colleagues here, if we could direct the chief and the mayor, or the mayor through the chief, or vice versa, to establish some formal lines of communication so that we can establish a regional approach to this. And that would be, I don't know if there's a friendly amendment that folks would be open to. It sounds like there's already lines of communication with Boston and potentially other cities to figure out some hard recommendations that this council can consider in the future around this. Because it sounds like some cooperation is what's working best, but I'll leave that.
I didn't want to cut you off, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
But
I'm done. Thanks.
yeah, just to, clarify, because a lot of people don't know the difference between a motor, like a moped and a scooter. Neither one of them can go over 30 miles an hour by law. They since introduced a new category this past year, which is called limited use vehicle. So that is anything over 30 but under 40, and 2 or 3 wheels, motorized, but has to be registered, insured, inspected, all of that. And you have to have a license to operate that. Mopeds or scooters, you need to have a license or permit. Scooter, you can only have one rider. A moped, you can have two. So that's basically just, and they're very, the moped scooter laws, since it's a more recent issue that's arisen, are very confusing and very, they overlap each other. So it's not very clear and concise, a lot of it, so. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
You just answered one of them about whether they needed a license or not. My question is now, do they have to have a registration? Do those vehicles have to be registered because they have a motor, or not at all?
So mopeds need to have now a plate on them. So they have to have a license plate on them and registered. Scooters, nothing. So that's my most recent understanding of the law.
How do we go about getting license plates on the scooters as well? Could
That
the
would be
council do something that we could go to the state with it?
I don't have the answer for that, unfortunately, I'm sorry. But again, listen to some of the other councilors, legislature.
Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you. Sergeant Rose, thank you for coming up. It's very informative to hear what other cities are doing. It is an issue, and obviously policing it is an issue. I don't know how we do it. I don't know if it's a focus with the schools and start, maybe wanting parents 18 and over, or you don't get one. Like, I don't know how it's done, but we need to have an effort between multiple sources to combat this, it seems. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Councilor.
that's definitely an avenue, is the schools, because don't forget, they're parked somewhere at night. So some parent somewhere, some guardian is seeing one in their yard. So it's definitely a way.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sergeant Rose, thank you for being here tonight. And I think that your idea for an awareness campaign is great. Reach out to the students first, maybe go over some of the guidelines with them. I'm not sure if the city would look to the state to implement an age restriction or a mandatory helmet law, but it's something that's definitely needed. I know it's with the warm weather approaching, it's going to be a huge issue. It's an issue now. On Malden Street a month or so ago, I saw a man driving down on one of the scooters and pitch black out, no helmet on. So it's definitely a public safety concern, but hopefully the city can come up with some guidelines. And I'm not sure if we look to the state for that or if that's something we work with the traffic department or police, but hopefully it's something we can get done. Excuse me.
As always, we're always willing to work with the council and the city and try to find a solution to any type of a traffic issue that's going on in the city, not just the mopeds and scooters.
Is that something the council could we come up with our own guidelines for the city, or do we have to look to the state to come up with their own restrictions and then use those as a guide? Thank you.
We would have to do that. We could make more strict regulations, but we'd have to follow the states.
So we could, in essence, come up with a mandatory helmet. As you said, I know they go 25 to 30 miles an hour, but they have to abide by the speed limit. Thank you.
Helmets are mandatory by law. So by law, they have to have a helmet. Moped, scooter, doesn't matter.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I know Chief knows this, but in 1998, we had a real big problem with alcohol. Kids were drinking alcohol, they were driving. We lost a couple of kids. So we had a mock accident where kids were drinking in the parking lot of Revere High School, which really made a difference because in 1999, I was the senior class advisor. We had no issues. my very last years of teaching, texting was a very big problem in the school system. All these teachers, in the beginning, they have it's like a homeroom, but we start with freshmen and we work our way up and those kids stay with us until they're seniors. We had to show films on texting, and they were gross, they were gruesome. And kids there was an impact. So I do think that it starts in the schools. It starts in the schools, and we have 2,200 kids. So out of those 2,200 kids, I know there are kids that are driving these bikes. So I think we need to start with the schools first, and then go, and we have two legislators, Jessica Giannino and Jeff Turco, that work for the city that we should contact. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't want to prolong this, but unfortunately I have to. I don't often look to the state for legislation or more legislation because it's usually something I don't agree with. But I think one of the solutions might be some kind of a law that at a point of sale, these things have to be registered and officially and that's probably the only way this can be done. Now, whether or not we can get that done is a whole nother story, but I think that would at least make it mandatory for everybody. And when they're selling this vehicle, it has to be registered just like a car. So I think that might be a solution if we can get our state delegation on board with that, and if like minds get together.
Thank you, Councilor. And Councilor Argenzio, one more time, and this will be the last one.
Thank you. Maybe in the short term, I do notice that when the high school gets out, there's a lot of scooters coming up the sidewalks, maybe some undercover, one on each side of the street, a sting like, I suppose, a couple of days a week, just when the high school gets out, just standing there on the sidewalk, and you're bound to catch a few coming by, just in the short term.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Another thing I was thinking about, since we're on the subject of schools, is utilizing some of our school resource offices, school offices, that could probably have better intelligence on who's driving these and who owns them and whatnot, so we could utilize them as well.
Thank you very much, Sergeant and Chief. Appreciate it. This is going to be placed on file.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Public hearings. Calendar item number 4, hearing called as ordered on the application of Arafat S. Ali, 35 Francis Street, Revere, Mass., requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to enable the appellant to modify an existing non-conforming 4-family structure by increasing the number of bedrooms in each unit at 35 Francis Street.
Somebody here to speak on behalf? This will be the proponents section. Good evening. Name and address for the record, please. Push the button so the microphone turns on, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, honorable council members and staff. My name is Marcos Devers. I'm a registered professional engineer.
What's your address, sir?
My address is 16 Woodland Street, Lawrence, Massachusetts. And I'm in representation of Arafat family. He's with me, one of the members of the family. As I was stated, we want to alter a non-conforming structure according to the City of Revere bylaws. We have provided or submitted plans, site plan, obviously showing the setbacks and other features. And basically, what we want to know is, actually what we want to accomplish is to increase the number of bedrooms in the structure. I provided to the building commissioner a code review. It looked feasible to do it from the perspective of the code on the Massachusetts amendments to the code, to the International Building Code. And we are here to respectfully request approval of this petition and open to entertain any questions from you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other proponents? Seeing and hearing none. Are there any opponents to this project? Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, we have one, sir. Come on up and state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Lorenzo Grasso, and I live across the street, 38 Francis Street. Basically, the gentleman bought the property about 4 or 5 months ago, and right now it's needs to be reformatted from the basement up to the roof. It's probably a disaster area. It's a 4-family now structure, and only one person is living in there, which is the former owner. I've been in the house before. I think the first floor's got 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, I think. And the other side, I think, is about the same. But from what the gentleman said, I don't know what he's proposing other than adding bedrooms. I don't know what that means. Is he going outside from the back, utilizing the porches to increase the 2 bedrooms? Because that's the only way he can do it, by going back in the yard. And the other question I have to him is, by increasing the bedroom size, obviously you're going to increase the family number of people that live in that house. We already have a tough situation with parking, so how is that going to come out? Because right now, there was 1 person on the first floor on the right, 1 person on the left. One had the car on the street, the other one parked in the garage. The lady upstairs, the owner, had the garage, and the other apartment was empty because the bathroom purposes was all screwed up, so it couldn't be used, it couldn't be rented or anything else. So what he said, I don't know what he wants to do, so I need to know more details.
This is going to be going to a subcommittee after this. We're not voting on this evening, just so you know.
That I know, but I'm not for or against in a way, but I don't know what he's proposing.
Right.
So I need to know more details.
Understood,
Because
sir.
when we got the letter,
Yep.
I said to myself, if somebody wants to do an improvements of the apartments inside, why do I have to show up at City Hall? You know?
It's just a notification,
I know,
so you know,
but-
sir. But like I said, this is going to go to subcommittee, so.
I was under the impression that maybe this was going to turn out to be that he wants to make condos out of it.
Well, I think
Is that
there's
the
still a lot of
idea, or I
information
don't
that we
know?
need on the project as well. I think the council still needs information on the project.
All right, so where are we going from here then?
So again, this is going to the zoning subcommittee for more conversation.
Okay, and then you're going to have another meeting, obviously.
Well, it'll go subcommittee and then to, that we will vote there and go to the city council, the whole, after that. And it will either receive a favorable or unfavorable recommendation from the council, but,
Are we going to have
or it can stay in committee.
another letter in the future asking us to show
No.
up and see what, so what am I, when I say I'm against it, I don't know what he's proposing. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Right. I mean,
Extra
so
bedrooms,
is-
I don't know what that means. I mean, is he going to use the
Okay,
existing
so are you a
space?
proponent or an opponent of the project, sir? Because you're a little over the time you're allowed to speak up here.
Well, if I say I'm against it,
Then you'll be recorded as against it.
I don't, again, I don't want to say I'm against it, but I don't know what he wants to do.
Sir, would
So-
you be willing to discuss the project with this gentleman on the side? Okay.
See,
So-
I don't know. I mean, at this point.
So he just said he's going to talk to you.
But if he's adding bedrooms,
Sir.
it means increases family size, which is impacting traffic and parking.
Okay, we get your
From-
point, sir. I appreciate it.
from
We-
my base, I'm
we-
against it,
we get-
yes.
Okay, thank you very much,
Right.
sir. Are there any other opponents Anyone else opposed to this project? Seeing and hearing none, I will open this up to city councilors. Councilor Silvestri. Oh, excuse me, you know what? I'm sorry, he raised his hand first, but Councilor Novoselsky's the ward councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I heard rumors that the place was going to be renovated, but I had no clue until last Friday when I got my packet where looking at the floor plans. So it looks like they're going to have to gut the entire building to rebuild the rooms that they want to do. I haven't decided whether I'm for it or against it yet. I still want to talk to the architect and the owner and see what's really going on, because there is a concern there are 3 bedrooms in every unit, and that does increase potentially more cars. If you get older people and if you get older kids, you could potentially have 3 to 5 or 6 cars for each unit, and that area is not conducive to parking, as you probably know. So I'm holding open what my decision is until we go through zoning and get all the questions answered and see what's going to happen from there. So we'll talk.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your, sir, thank you for coming up here tonight. How you doing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So I'm just curious, sir, are you going to be moving into this? Are you buying this as a family home? Or are you looking to?
This is I'm the engineer. The investor, the owner, is his brother.
Okay.
Part of the family.
Okay.
So
it's kind of what I'm asking. So is it going to be a family-owned, multi-generational moving into the home, or does, like, it's just confusing. I got to be honest, just as he said, and I know it's going to zoning, it's a little confusing with the plans, just by adding a room on each floor. So just, yeah, right. So I'm just, is this for a family moving in, or is this to make a rental property? Just curious.
okay, let me clarify. I might not be able to share with you all the information, all specification regarding to code. All right, I know that we are here mostly to show compliance with the zoning ordinances, but at the same time, we have to be in compliance with the code. Along with the alteration, there are improvements to the structure. There's an investment to the structure. The four units are going to be kept, only 4 units. We are not increasing the number of units. By code, you need 2 parking spaces per unit. This is already a non-conforming structure, already approved. It will be like that if he chose to just leave it like that. You want to bring improvement to it, that won't change the parking situation, the parking issues. So we are not, I would say we are not here for the parking variance. The structure is already a 4-family, it's a non-conforming. It will be improved. The number of bedrooms is going to be increased. The quality of life of the tenants will be better. Yes, some construction will be on the way.
So it's going to be a rental.
It's already rental. It's business, and the owner is from the area. As long as I know.
Okay, so I'm going to let one more counselor speak. It sounds like we need a lot more information on this. And just a point of information, if you were in compliance, you wouldn't be here. So because it's non-conforming, you're here. Do you know what I mean? So you need our permission for that.
Of course, but
Okay.
that's what we are looking for.
I understand.
To do it within the.
Counselor Kelly.
Thank you. So I guess I'm just unclear as to whether or not this renovation that would include additional bedrooms is sticking just to the interior of the building, or are you going outside of the existing footprint as well?
No. we are
You're
keeping
not
this-
going outside
no,
the existing
no,
footprint?
Not at all.
Okay. Thank
Stay
you.
within what exists.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilors. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just think that if we open a can of worms, then anybody can come up here and do whatever they want to. I know that in the next meeting, we were going to have another tenant developer that wants to come in, and he wants to put a fourth floor on a third floor bedroom apartment. So I just think that we really do need to leave things alone. I give you a lot of credit if you want to clean it up and renovate it, but I don't see that anybody should put more bedrooms in anything. I don't think people should put fourth floor on a three-floor apartment house. If we do that, we're allowing anybody to come up and do that.
We are not doing that. We are not putting another floor on top.
I understand that, but you want to put more bedrooms, that means more people,
it-
and you don't have, I understand it's non-conforming, but every apartment should have 2 spaces. I know you only have 2 spaces with a garage, but if you have 4 floors, that's 8 cars, and that could be more than 8 cars. I'm just saying that when we allow special permits to go in, if they need 8 parking spaces for a 4-floor apartment building, that's now. If it was, back in 40 years from before, it's non-conforming, it's fine, it's already grandfathered in. But now you need 8 spaces
it's been
for a
already
4-floor.
grandfathered in.
Yes, so,
It's been already grandfathered in.
Okay, this is
Okay.
going to be referred to zoning on March 4th at 5 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Calendar item number 5. On the application of Jewel Said, 55 Berkshire Street, Swampscott, Mass., requesting a special permit from the Revere City Council to reconstruct and expand an existing non-conforming structure by raising the existing structure and constructing a 5-story boutique hotel containing approximately 104 rooms and 32 parking spaces at 185 Squire Road, Revere, Mass.
This is a public hearing. We will open this up to proponents.
Thank you, President. My name is Lou McCarkis, 152 Linway in Lynn. I'm the president and CEO of Linway Associates Group, a real estate consulting, government relations and permitting firm located at Seaport Landing. We represent the buyer and the seller in this transaction. A brief introduction of our team. Tonight we have the seller, Reginaldo Piscinato. The buyer and the applicant is Jewel Said and his family. Jewel is here. The architect, Dave Barsky, many of you might be familiar with. The head civil engineer, Rick Salvo, from the Engineering Alliance Group, is here with us. Our construction manager is Bill Nicholson, the president and CEO of the Congress Companies. And our attorney and zoning specialist is Sam Vitale of Vitale Law. This presentation is the culmination of 6 months of meetings with city officials via a series of personal meetings, Zoom meetings, and group meetings with staff from the previous administration and the current administration. During the course of those meetings, we received feedback and input from the Office of Economic Development, the Chief Building Inspector, the Code Enforcer, and the City Planner. Subsequent to that, we sat with the Site Plan Review Committee, where we received valuable input from the city's chief engineer, the folks at DPW, fire prevention, and the police department regarding traffic management. We want you to know that this particular plan has been well vetted and scrutinized, and we appreciate the valuable input that we received and the constructive criticism we've received from everyone. Let's look at the location. 185 Squire Road is currently a two-story mixed-use building built around 1965, which currently is totally outdated and underutilized. There are several small offices, and currently just the owner and his bookkeeper are there, so nobody's actually being displaced on the existing building. On the zoning, we're having slight technical difficulties. Thank you, Ashley. All right, the zoning. In this particular site, it's HB, Highway Business, which allows for hotel use by right. In other words, the district allows for hotel as a permitted use. If you review the existing zoning ordinance, there are other allowable uses in the HB district that are allowed by right. For example, a gas station, a funeral home, a parking lot, a parking structure, or even a Class 1 automotive sales as permitted uses. What we propose is consistent with the character of the area and the corridor, and we think beneficial to the community as a whole. Let's look at the hotel particulars. What we have is a 5-story, we consider it a 4/1, with 26 rooms per floor, totaling 104 doors. That's okay. So the site at 185 Squire is on the main drag. Leechmere is the street on the right. So we envision the cars coming off of Squire Road onto Leechmere, where they will turn in and meet the valet assistant. So it's valet service. We also have the developer who's committed, by way of our meetings and our feedback, to 2 shuttles, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So if we have visitors coming, and we want visitors to come to the great city of Revere and spend their disposable income, if they want to go to the T, we're going to take them to the T. If they want to go to the Museum of Fine Arts, we're going to take them to the T to go to the Museum of Fine Arts. Or if they want to visit America's first public beach, we're going to take them there. So let's look at the benefits to the city and the taxpayers of Revere. It's well noted that hotels, generally speaking, provide the highest income to the city with the least drain on city services versus other uses. Dollars that come to the municipality might be in the way of the hotel room tax. If we have a restaurant meals tax, if there's a bar there, the liquor tax, and of course the commercial nature of this building is taxed at a higher rate in general. The benefits to the local businesses, we have people coming to visit, it might be 1, 2, 3 days. Those are folks that are going to be spending money at the gas stations, at our restaurants, shopping, or just to visit America's first public beach. In closing, I want to thank the outstanding staff of the current administration and the previous administration for their guidance, their honesty, their constructive criticism, and the hospitality throughout the process. I would especially like to thank all of the councilors who took time from their busy schedules to meet with us, and especially your Ward 6 Councilor, Chris Giannino, for his leadership, his guidance, his input throughout the process, alerting us of things that were important to his ward and the city in general. We thank you for letting us share our vision for 185 Squire Road, which we think is the highest and best use for that site. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
And if there are any technical questions, we have the team. If I can't answer them, we're happy to.
I'm sure there will be.
Address them.
Let's get to that portion, though. So right now, we're still in proponents. Anybody in favor? Seeing and hearing none. Any opponents? Anybody not in favor of this? Seeing and hearing none, we open the floor up to councilors. Councilor Giannino.
I've been in contact with the developers and the team over the last several months with this hotel, because I come in even before it was in in office here. They've been very helpful, very open. I haven't supported the plan 100% right now from what I'm seeing on it, and I think it will bring a lot of income to the city and a lot of positive for the city. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with the ward council wholeheartedly. Just a quick question, maybe for, actually, anyone. Lou? Thank you. I love the project. I think it fits perfect. I think we need a few more. Just the owners of the project, have they run a hotel before?
They have. As a matter of fact, they have a serious financial commitment in the city right now, and they're continuing to do that. And if they want to spend money in the great city of Revere, we'll help them.
Excellent. Thank you.
Councilor Jaramillo.
How are you? Thank you for bringing this to our attention, and I'm only upset it's not a little taller just because we could use the revenue. But
Thank you, Councilor. We're at the 50-foot maximum.
yeah, I hear you. But I guess the other thing I'm very appreciative of the shuttles, and I would like us to consider potentially a third shuttle that we could market for the residents in the area. Just because we need to be able to move folks from that neighborhood through the city and maybe into the train stations in ways that reduce traffic. And there's no better way to reduce traffic than to allow for multimodal transportation options. And it came to my attention that there's no actual bus that runs on Ward Street, and there's a big housing development there that, you know, potentially could be encouraged to. Did you have a question, Councilor Silvestri? Oh, okay. They could be encouraged to use this shuttle. Would be great, just so that we can move folks efficiently in and out of that area, which already sees plenty of traffic. And you know, you can fit 100 cars in a 3-mile line, or you can fit 100 people in a 50-foot bus. So any of those options, I know you're already committed to 2. If you can't expand to 3, would we consider that maybe there'd be some sort of community use for one of the shuttles, or something of that sort? I'd really appreciate that.
I believe we can commit to that. And I also want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us personally. And I've been doing this a long time, since you were born, but I did learn from you. And I appreciate the fact that in this day and age, we're going into 2025, we want to get people out of their cars into public transportation, going back to emissions and so forth. So I learned something. Thank you. And we'll address that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Guarino-Sawaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I love this project, and I kind of agree with Councilor Jaramillo. I think we should put on another floor and have a rooftop bar. I've had a lot of people ask
maybe
for a
we'll take-
rooftop bar in Revere. This would be perfect.
Well, thank you, Councilor. What's interesting is I have to commend, you know, when you've been doing this as long as I have and you go into different municipalities, it's very refreshing to go into a city that's user-friendly, that wants to work with you. And I listened to a lot of comments from all of the councilors and the staff here, and you all should be commended, because when you try and do things in other cities, not to throw them under the bus, but how'd you like to have 90,000 people in no hotel? So the people that don't go to Lynn are going to go to Salem or Revere, stay here, and hopefully spend their money here. But overall, you should be commended. It's very refreshing. It's been respectful. There's been differences of opinion, but generally speaking, everybody here has been agree to disagree. I commend you.
Thank you. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. when former Mayor Arrigo was here, he developed a revitalization committee for Squire Road. And we met a couple of times and then he left. But one of the major topics was hotels and restaurants on that street. So I really believe that this is a great start for Squire Road. And I think it will bring in, I mean, hotels bring in a ton of revenue, meal tax, room tax. So I think this will be wonderful and beneficial to Revere. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you. Councilor Zambudo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Lou, for your presentation. Very succinct. I think there was one guy up here that's probably a better salesman for hotels than me. That was John Powers. He had all the figures, 8.5% room tax and meals tax and no services. And that's why anytime I see a hotel, and full disclosure, my construction office was the corner office on the second floor of that building for many years. So this place has...
Well, now we know it's outdated.
Right, exactly. Exactly, that's perfect. But the point I'm trying to make is that was always a great location, and I can't think of a better location for a boutique hotel than 185 Squire Road. It's a perfect fit. And again, I think my colleague to my right said it. Give me 4 more of these. You know, the more hotels we can get, the less services we use, the more tax revenue for the city to help pay for some extravagant things that my colleagues are spending money on up here. Anyhow, I think it's a great looking building. It's going to be a great project, and it's going to do, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a win-win for the owners. It's a win-win for the city, and it's just what we want. And Councilor McKenna said that corridor was perfect for hotels and restaurants, and that's what we're looking forward to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. Lou, thanks so much for coming up tonight. I think this is a great project for the city, and I love the idea of the 24-hour shuttles. And I know you and I had talked about it. Will there be a restaurant or a cafe in there?
Yeah, we were originally a coffee shop. They call it, in this day and age, it's grab and go, like some of the other hotels, even down the road. You go in, they have sort of a Starbucks type of coffee shop. The food is already packaged. It's not cooked there. It's in the cases, and it's grab and go type of thing. But that's at the request of the zoning committee. We are open. Currently, we had the coffee shop and a community meeting room. But I learned also from another one of the councils that were thinking about the revenue, who really wanted the meals tax and whatever meals and liquor tax. So whatever that zoning subcommittee, we're a little bit flexible there. We had it established as a community room and a coffee shop originally. So we are open. But we are going to hold this developer accountable to keep his commitments as he has in the past for at least 2 shuttles. That'll be 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it's not my ward, but, everybody knows that I've had a lot of construction in my own neighborhood. And this is a great income package, great looking building. I've worked with Lou before, I've worked with Saeed before, and David Bosky, the architect. And David does a great job, and he listens to me when I don't like a certain look of a building, and I said, I want to tweak this, I want to tweak that, and this is what he's doing here, making this facility state-of-the-art location on Squire Road, perfect location, perfect building, and be a perfect project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'm not going to go over the zoning relief that's required, but it is a little concerning to me because the building's just so large, okay? Because if I'm looking at this right, there's an approximately 7,000 square foot building there now, and that's going to go to, what, a 24,000 square foot building, approximately?
Yeah, I would, David, if
Okay.
you know the exact, it's
Okay.
4 stories, 26 rooms a floor,
Okay.
104 in total.
And I guess my biggest concern that I have was when I looked over the abutter notification pages, there are 2 pages here, but they're duplicates. So looking at it, there were only about 30 abutters that were notified, and when I dug a little deeper on that, it looks like out of the 30, only 5 were located in the residential neighborhood across the street. And that's just concerning to me, because this change directly affects that residential, family-oriented neighborhood. And I would just like to feel rest assured that there was maybe additional notification. I know it's not required, the 300 feet is a statutory regulation, I understand that. But considering the depth of this project, the size of it and all of that, I would feel better if I knew that that neighborhood was maybe more informed about it, and I got more feedback from that neighborhood in terms of how they feel, considering they will be the ones to deal with the direct increase in traffic and whatever else this hotel brings, so.
Thank you, Council. We'd be happy, I'd be happy to, if you wanted to set that up with that area across from Squire Road, those residences, which is part of your Councilor at Large district. So we would like to educate and inform them of what we're trying to do and get their input. So we'd be happy to do that.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Permission to speak from the chair? Thank you. Consider that neighborhood notified. I live right there. I think this is a great project. I would love to step into my car every morning and look down the street and look at that building instead of the other one. And of course, we very badly need the tax revenue in this city, and I know this is one of 2 hotels currently coming online. I know that this is the Ward 6 side, but I think Councilor Janino and I, we share Squire Road, and I think we have a very similar vision for what we'd like to see there. I'm 100% on board with this, and I'm excited to get started.
Thank you, President Cogliandro.
Thank you. And this is going to zoning on March 4th at 5 p.m.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called is ordered on an ordinance providing for interpretation services for public meetings and public documents.
Mr. President, I want a motion to table this and send to legislative affairs while.
This is a public hearing. We have to open it to the proponents.
sorry.
Any proponents? Hearing and seeing none. Any opponents?
Hi, I am here, Clarence Rillo, City Policy Writer and Analyst, 281 Broadway. I am technically an opponent. I spoke with Councilor Jaramillo and City Clerk Ashley Melnick regarding small changes to Councilor Jaramillo's ordinance, because the city is currently working with the HUD department to internally come up with the same thing that Councilor Jaramillo proposed. So we want to make sure that his external ordinance is going to not comply, but mesh well with what the city's doing internally. So ours is the staff end and his is the public-facing end. So we worked on a few changes with the Department of Economic Planning and Development in their concerts with HUD. So we wanted to just motion, or however it may come about, to table this and talk about it more with you all at the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee.
Thank you. Any other opponents? Hearing and seeing none. Councilor Jaramillo?
Just motion to table and send to legislative affairs.
We have a motion on the floor to send this to legislative affairs. The motion is seconded. All in favor? All opposed?
Sorry.
So ordered.
You can't speak on it.
Calendar item number 7, hearing called is ordered on the application of Kevin Roseberg, Expo Signs and Graphics, 3 Landing Lane, Hopedale, Mass., requesting permission to install an awning at 250 Broadway.
This is a public hearing. We will open it up to proponents. Sir, name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Andrew Clark from Expose Signs. I'm representing Wynn Residential, and sadly, I am not bringing a hotel to this board, but I appreciate the time of the councilman and the board here. We are looking to put an awning in the building directly across the street, removing the existing lettering that is there. They have done some substantial renovations there, and they are looking to rebrand the property. I know that the primary concern on this is the projection over the sidewalk component, which this thing only projects 16 inches, so it's a very small projection. It's really more as a decorative element, and it also keeps some of the snow and stuff off that immediate lip. The steps go into the building, so it does protect those as well. I don't think there's any, does not damage the bylaws of the protection. You know, it's above the code in height, which I think is 9 feet, and it's 124, so it's a little over 10 feet above. So really, it's just it's a way of just jazzing up the entrance to a building there on the Main Street. It doesn't change the occupation or any other component of the existing structure or occupancy.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other proponents, people in favor? Seeing and hearing none, any opponents? Anybody not in favor? Seeing and hearing none, city councilors? Councilor Silvestri.
How far does that come out?
It only comes out 16 inches off the projection.
Off the building?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other councilors? This is the Broadway towers, correct? Right there? And these are the ones that have the set of stairs going in, probably.
It's just to protect the front lip of those staircases there and to, you know, kind of excite that front, that
I'm just
front
curious.
facade.
I'm just curious. That building's been there since I can remember. You said rebranding. What are you rebranding?
Well, they just want to call it something different, you know, from a naming point of view to, because they've done renovation. So it is an apartment community. It will continue to be an apartment community. There's no changes in the residential mixture or any components that way in terms of housing. But it's just to sort of give it some new, to jazz it up a little bit, you know, from the site.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Jaramillo.
Is Wynn trying to sell this property? To your knowledge?
I am not privy to that kind of data, but they've owned the property for years.
To your knowledge?
To my knowledge, they are not selling it. They do we do their properties over the whole Northeast, and they do extensive renovations to properties and hold on to them for years. So this is not unusual to see a reno of an existing structure without with a rebranding. That's our bread and butter. So,
Thank you. Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here, Mr. Roseberg. So will this will just replace the current lettering right in the center, right? And it won't have any effect on the apartment to the right or the apartment to the left?
exactly. We're just taking down the steel letters that are up there right now, fixing, patching that brick or that stone CMU, and then moving the awning over the primary entrance steps there. So there's no impact to properties to either side of the building.
Thank you.
Any other councilors wishing to speak? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Calendar item number 8, hearing called is ordered on an emergency loan order in the amount of $3 million for the Oak Island MBTA Railroad Crossing Project, CWSRF number 18903.
This is a public hearing, opening it to proponents. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Richard Viskey, CFO 281 Broadway. I am here to speak in favor of this project. This is, again, an emergency water repair that requires some coordination with the MBTA to get underneath the railroad tracks, and these repairs are difficult enough to coordinate, and we are hoping for a favorable vote to make these repairs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none. Any opponents, people opposed? Hearing and seeing none. Any city councilors? Hearing and seeing none. We have to take 2 roll call votes on this, Madam Clerk.
The first will be for the loan order, second for the resolution. Okay. Shall the City Council approve a loan order in the amount of $3 million for the Oak Island MBTA Railroad Crossing Project, CWSRF number 18903? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the loan order has been approved. On the resolution, Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the resolution has been approved. Calendar item number 9, hearing called is ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to install a jointly owned pole on Washburn Ave in accordance with Plan Number 29154577.
This is a public hearing. Going to open it up to proponents. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Daniel Combs, 672 Winter Street, Framingham. I'm the design engineer for this project. I was here a month ago, and that sketch approved the conduits and manholes, and these poles will support cables that will come out of those, that will connect to those conduits.
So this is a continuation of the project that we approved
Correct.
previous. Okay. Any other proponents? Seeing and hearing none. Any opponents? People opposed? Seeing and hearing none. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have any problems with this. I already saw them take out the sidewalk for the pole. But I was just wondering how many poles is going to go into Washburn Ave? Are we going to inundate Washburn Ave with poles? Because this is the third one in 2 weeks that's going in. Do you know how many more are going in? Because it's a very small street.
Between this line item, number 9 on the agenda, and the next one that I also was part of, it's a total of 4. I wasn't aware of those other ones you're mentioning.
So 5 poles are going in. Okay. Thank you.
Any other councilors wishing to speak? Seeing and hearing none. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested by National Grid and Verizon? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the poll locations have been granted.
Thank you for your time.
Calendar item number 10, hearing called is ordered on a petition submitted by National Grid to install 3 poles on Washburn Avenue for future MBTA station supply primary risers in accordance with the plan on file.
This is a public hearing, opening to proponents. Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record.
670 Daniel Combs, 672 Winter Street, Framingham. They're listed on separate drawings because 3 of them will not have telecom attachments, and 1 of them will. That's how we ended up with 2 separate drawings, but a total of 4 between the two drawing sets.
I have no problem with this. Thank you.
Any other proponents? Seeing and hearing none. Opponents? Seeing and hearing none. Councilors? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Thank you.
Next up is the Zoning Subcommittee report.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, we know the zoning subcommittee met this evening, 5 o'clock. We had 2 items on the agenda. The first is 24028, 1040 through 1048 North Shore Road. That was voted out favorably. I'd ask for a roll call.
Madam Clerk?
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested by the petitioner, subject to the conditions that were discussed in the zoning subcommittee? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been granted. Calendar item, I'm sorry.
Next item up was 24022. What started with a motion from Council Silvestri and Council McKenna is the zoning ordinance for home-based childcare. With several amendments we voted on, and it's now voted to a public hearing. So it was obviously voted out favorably. I'd ask, do we need a roll call, madam? No, just all in favor. All
On the
opposed.
motion as amended, my apologies, going to go to a public hearing.
Yes.
Is this as amended? Sorry.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 13, communication from the city policy writer and analyst relative to an ordinance amending the term of Superintendent of Public Works of the City of Revere.
Good evening. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Clarence Zerillo, 281 Broadway Solicitor's Office. I'm here to request that the City Council order the submitted proposal to a public hearing. I'm happy to answer questions tonight, but I am prepared to go in-depth at the public hearing, so whatever your preference may be.
Thank you. Any councilors wishing to speak? This will be ordered to a public hearing on March 25th.
Calendar item number 14, communication from the city auditor relative to the transfer of free cash to the Revere High School Stabilization Fund.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Richard Viskey, 281 Broadway, City CFO. You may recall last year, we did vote to establish a high school construction stabilization account, and at that time, the vote was recorded as established, but we did not deposit any money into it. However, now, new mayor, new fiscal year, we just got our free cash certified, and you'll hear more about that in the next order, but this is taking 10% of our certified free cash to begin to seed the high school construction stabilization account in the hopes that we can build up a sufficient balance to use that to offset debt payments as construction prolongs while we let new growth and new revenues catch up to the debt service. So this is a tool that we're implementing here to try to help facilitate building this high school, and I urge your favorable vote, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any councilors? Madam Clerk, let's take the roll.
Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash to the High School Stabilization Fund in the amount of $366,597? Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
Yes, the transfer has been approved. Calendar item number 15, communication from the city auditor relative to the certification of free cash as of June 30th of '23.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Richard Viskey, 281 Broadway, City CFO. Again, the certification of free cash has been completed by the Department of Revenue, and these are the typical annual appropriations that we put into our different reserve accounts. 20% into our capital improvement stabilization, 15% into our general fund stabilization, $250,000 annually into our OPEB liability account, and 10% into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And again, happy to answer any questions on these transfers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any councilors with questions wishing to speak? We're going to be taking 5 separate votes for this. Madam Clerk, when you're ready.
On the first, shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash to the General Stabilization Fund in the amount of $549,896? Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hass.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Zambuto.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, that transfer has been approved. Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash to the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund in the amount of $733,195? Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hass.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Zambuto.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, that transfer has been approved. Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash to other post-employment benefit trust fund in the amount of $250,000? Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hass.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Zambuto.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, that transfer has been approved. Shall the City Council approve an appropriation from free cash to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the amount of $366,597? Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hass.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Zambuto.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, that transfer has been approved. And lastly, shall the City Council approve an appropriation from the Water and Sewer Free Cash to the Water and Sewer Stabilization Fund in the amount of $42,648? Counselor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Janino.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hass.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Jaramillo.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Zambuto.
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes, that transfer has been approved.
Motion to suspend the rules. All in
Second.
favor, all opposed?
Aye.
I'd like to take up the late communication, both late communications now. First, I'd like Brian Dakin and then Julie DeMauro, if we can do it in that order, unless there's any opposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President. Yep.
Okay, so calendar item number 25, calendar item number 26, late communication from Brian Dakin, Senior Project Manager of Left Field, providing an update on the Revere High School project schedule summary.
Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Brian Dakin, 1 High Street. Actually, I forgot my USB.
I just got your email, hold on.
Thanks. So we wanted to give a schedule-based update of what's going on for the next month or two and how it relates to the schedule looking forward, and ultimately preview the vote language mandated by the MSBA when the high school project ultimately goes through the schematic submission, comes back in May. And I think once it's up on the screen, sorry to put the pressure on you, I did forget my USB drive. I think it'd be easier to go through it when it's on the screen, but councilors, you have the handout. The first page is a schedule summary of really where we're at right now. The team has been working on the schematic design report. It is due by Thursday to the Mass School Building Authority. We'll be having one more meeting with the building committee Wednesday night, and moving on to this sequence of events, which ultimately, these 15 sort of events here are the end of the feasibility study, and if everything passes, the beginning of a fully funded real project. Items 1, 2, and 3 are just sort of record items that are important leading into this process. We have to notify the MSBA that the submission's pending. We did that. We have to submit the vote language to the MSBA. You folks have the vote language in this package. I'll talk a little bit more about that just when we get to it. And we have to more or less confirm the reimbursement rate, which we did. It's consistent with what we presented you folks. Submittal, item number 4, the submittal is due in its entirety this Thursday. MSBA will then have a 21-day window to issue comments. They always do. Every project, every submission. The vast majority of those comments are probably going to be towards left field, Perkins Eastman, in terms of maybe clarifying items in there. If anything is impactful in terms of the overall mission of the project, certainly we'd be getting back in front of committees. But most often the MSBA review is from sort of a procedure protocol point of view. After those comments, or sort of in tandem with those comments, the MSBA has asked that we attend what's called their Facilities Assessment Subcommittee meeting, item 6 on the screen. That's more or less a design review. It's a subcommittee made up of architects, contractors, senior MSBA folks, and they review and comment on the design of the facility. That's a meeting that the mayor and superintendent will attend with us. The MSBA team, item number 7, will then schedule what's called a project scope and budget conference call. That's the first point that we, left field, will hear their reaction to how we filled out their budget and how we projected their grant value. So that's the first time, so to speak, that we see their cards in terms of agreeing with what we have presented in terms of the reimbursement package that's going to come back. All of that will lead to item 8, MSBA board meeting on April 24th. If the project is approved the next day, they will issue a board action letter. And within about a week of that meeting, they'll issue what's called a project scope and budget agreement. The project scope and budget agreement, I've sort of heard it best compared to sort of a purchase and sale. If you've ever bought a house or a condo, it's not the final agreement, but it establishes all the numbers. So we need to get that project scope and budget approved. That's not the debt authorization vote. That's really confirmation of the project budget of what their grant is. So ultimately, I was going to follow up with Council President. I don't know when, if May meetings have been established, and we can be a bit flexible with this, but there's 2 separate votes we'll need in May. The first is to approve that project scope and budget agreement, which is just the numbers. We will then get that back to the MSBA, that vote approval. They will then issue the project funding agreement, PFA, which is the big one. That's the real legal agreement that has the project scope and budget, the numbers attached to it. And we're looking to try to get that executed. That is the debt, quote unquote, debt authorization vote in May, and be able to dispatch the team into the next phase, design development, on June 1st. If you could scroll to the next slide, we'll see that these dates support the schedule looking forward. So an item that we're going to come back to the council and speak at length about, and we'll obviously be going to the Revere Conservation Commission as well, as permitting. Right now, this is just a one-liner, and I wanted to point out something that the architect mentioned to me earlier. You see that we're looking to start that on March 1st in parallel with the MSBA process that leads to design development. I shouldn't have put the date March 2nd, 2025 to make it look like it's done. We're not going to be done with permitting then. We will have enough permits in hand, the way we see it, to be able to start site prep. So soup to nuts permitting all the way up to the superstructure of the building permits will probably last not 12 months, probably closer to 18. But this schedule is triggered on getting the site permitting underway such that by next spring, we can start site remediation in terms of cleaning up the site, revising utilities, moving utilities, starting to move dirt around. That's really the key, is getting into the site. The 4 major design packages that'll happen after that, design development, is the next phase. That'll run through the winter. And with the completion of the design development phase, we're going to have a site prep bid package. So we'll be looking to actually bid site enabling, site demolition, underground demolition, I'm talking about here, and pavement, et cetera, and hazardous material abatement. We know there's a number of items specifically under the track and around the old foundations that require abatement. We then move into 60% construction documents through next spring. At the end of that, that supports a bid set for site foundations, concrete steel, essentially the bones of the building, which supports a full construction mobilization a little further into next year. We'll then have a 90% document phase. All these phases, by the way, are required by the MSBA process. All of them will have an estimate. So there'll be design development estimates, there'll be 60% construction estimates, 90%, all of them looking to work within the dollar value we've already shown. And the final bid drawings will really go out until late 2025. And as that foundation is being poured, it's a massive, massive foundation down there. That's when we'll have the rest of the bid drawings ready to get it out to bid over the winter and ultimately establish those letters GMP are a guaranteed maximum price contract with the CM. That's language that's a little different than the way the other Revere school projects have been built, which are all design, bid, build. You finish the drawings, go bid them. An advantage of the CM process is that we can run the document production in parallel with releasing site packages. So ultimately, the entire consigli contract won't be finalized until we're done with the GMP. All those dates basically support spring, site mobilization next year, a full mobilization to get the foundations and steel underway summer of next year. And more or less run substantial completion out into the dates where we're planning to open the building out in 2028. That's always going to be a TB date until the school schedule's in. So just next slide quick. We don't have to go through this in detail, but this is the prescribed vote language that ultimately for that second vote in May, not the first one, we need to have here. And there's just a few minor things I wanted to point out. One, this is a template from the MSBA. It's available on their website. All municipalities have to use it. Really all we do with it is go in and write Revere, write city instead of town, put the specific budget in. But this has been reviewed by the city's bond counsel and the city solicitor. We're going to be sending it into MSBA. They make sure that we didn't play with any of the language. Their legal department okays it. And everyone's on the same page that ultimately in May, this will be the vote that must come before this council to fully fund the project. So I wanted to get that out there now. And I think if there are questions on this vote language, Paul Capizzi, city solicitor, is probably the person to talk to. This is really law-heavy stuff. So wanted to get it out now. If there's questions, we have the next couple of months to deal with it. Other than that, I think we'd like to be back at the council as all of this process unfolds in the next month or two with a more detailed update on permitting and how we plan to get through the permitting path and why we still believe we can start construction on these dates. Otherwise, and one more thing, I did watch the last meeting. I appreciate that the Concom peer review fee was approved. That's part of, as we reapply for the permit, we'll be back in front of Concom soon, hopefully for the April meeting. Not sure yet. Don't want to make any commitments of their time, but they will then order the peer review. The money's already approved for it. That'll go out for peer review, and that's really one of our first permitting tasks. The 3 parallel sort of train tracks of permitting this. One goes through Revere Conservation Commission, one goes through MIPA, and one goes through Mass DEP for the wetlands. So 3 sort of parallel train tracks all taken off in early March to be able to have enough permits in hand to start digging next spring and building for real by next fall.
Thank you very much. Any councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Brian, when do we expect to get the bottom line ready for a vote for the finances?
The bottom line in terms of
Date.
It really depends on what's on the first slide here. If MSBA issues the project funding agreement when they typically do, usually a few weeks after it, the vote we're looking to take, we have it here between May 15th and May 27th. It will be the budget you've already seen. The only item that might vary is them confirming their reimbursement back. But the budget's the budget at this point.
The only thing I'm concerned about is the timing of when it's going to come up to this council. Because we're going to have our own budget we're going to be dealing with in June. And I just don't want to put pressure on everybody to have to make these big decisions of the city budget, the $100 million plus, and the $500 million project at the school, knowing we're getting something back. But, you know, I just want to see if we can get it before we get the budget of the city, so we can have a little time to talk about it, think about it, without being crammed. So.
Yep, I'm going to be verifying these dates. More or less the way the MSBA works is they're not going to answer many questions till we give them the submittal Thursday. And I'm going to try to really tie down some of these dates of when they'll be issuing these documents within the range of what you looked at, and we can give the council as much advance warning as possible.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? Counselor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Dakin, for being here. It just came to my attention that you're going to be coming in, giving us updates regarding cost, which I'm grateful for and appreciative of you taking the time to share that information with us. And I know that recently we were invited to meet with the mayor and Mr. Visquet in terms of how we're going to pay for it. So you're kind of the guy as to how much it's going to cost, and Mr. Visquet, the guy as to how we're going to pay for it. I'm wondering, if I think I'd like to, at this time, Mr. President, put a motion on the floor to consider the possibility of maybe having Mr. Visquet also come in over the next couple of months, maybe one meeting just for any public comments that we may get or any questions or anything. So to request that, we request the mayor to request Mr. Visquet to maybe appear before the council just to give us an update in terms of funding.
So we have a motion on the floor. Give the clerk a moment, and then I'll ask her to read it, and then we'll take a roll call on the motion that is on the floor.
On a motion offered by Councilor Kelly, this is what I have, that the mayor request Rich Visquet to appear before the city council to provide an update on funding for the high school building project.
All right. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
On the motion, Councilor Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo? Is absent. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro?
Yes.
A motion is ordered.
Permission to speak from the chair. Thank you, Counselor. Brian, thank you for being here as always. Back to the conservation, I've been just asking about it. I'm happy to hear that we're funding it. Has a third party been selected?
That's a Concom process, actually. They go out, they request a peer review. They find that they have a process to find the peer reviewer. I'll get the real answer to that question, but it doesn't really go through the project, it goes through Concom.
So it's been a concern. What, if any, changes may need to take place if, in fact, the NRED comes back and there's more than we thought? And are there changes that are going to need to take place for the structure? Any changes at all? Are we anticipating? Is there something that we haven't discussed? Is it worse than we might think it is? Mm-hmm. These are the things that I'm thinking about. So.
Yeah, I can't tell you with 100% certainty it's going to happen the way the team thinks it's going to happen, but the designers have put a lot of attention into the size of the building, the shape of the building, exactly where it sits on the site to only encroach upon some of those IBW wetlands, namely in the middle of the track, than what's grown in the middle, in such a way that we still have plenty of room to replicate them elsewhere on site. And when this council has heard me say things like, it's hard to compare different projects, how would it be permitted, how long would it take? One of the inherent benefits we have of this being a high school building is that it's not occupying the whole site. We have a lot of space to work with for compensatory storage and to relocate wetlands to. So we believe that the flagging that's been done and the flagging that will follow up is going to result in a quantity of relocated wetlands that we have plenty of room for, and we know how to handle them. I mean, if you're asking me what I worry about, it's really schedule and the timing. That's the trickiest part of this, is getting through the sort of slalom course of items we have to go through with all these permits and the amount of time that we can break ground. And honestly, that's why I know probably the council's always sensed that we're pushing to go forward, and we're looking to go forward quickly because it's a tough site to permit, but based on the design, we don't believe there will be massively impactful surprises.
So nothing catastrophic, like we will not be able to build the school there because of the wetlands, nothing like that. I just want to put that to bed.
No, myself and the consultants don't believe so. I'm correct.
Also, I just wanted to share the meeting dates are going to be May 13th and May 20th. We're a little constrained that month because of Memorial Day.
Yep.
Would those work?
I think so. Let me just.
I'm
find
sorry,
my
May
other-
6th. Oh, we can add the 6th if we need to. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You said the
Right now, it's the 13th, May 13th, and May 20th will be the two meetings for that month.
Those are actually perfect.
What she said?
Yeah.
So we have, okay, just so the public knows, we're talking about timing for the meetings for that month because, and I actually agree heavily with Councilor Novoselsky's concern that it's so close to the budget time, but listen, we'll open up whatever meetings we have to open up to make this work because we got to build this high school, so.
I'm just trying to make sure I follow along. So 6th, to order it to a hearing on the 20th?
You would introduce the bond authorization.
Yep.
Would introduce the bond authorization at the meeting of May 6th to the council would hypothetically order that to a public hearing for May 20th.
Okay. All right. That's helpful. I'll make some, I'll talk to some people and make sure that we have the info we need from the state to do that.
Okay, so let me rephrase. The meetings for May will be May 6th and May 20th.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to change it just for timing purposes. This is, part of the reason we wanted updates. Does any other councilors have any questions or concerns before we let Mr. Dakin go? Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know at one time you said that if the racetrack was compromised with wetlands, that you'd have to move, the high school over a little bit. Is that what you plan on doing if there is, evidence of wetlands?
We believe what's inside that track is a wetland, but it's definable as a type of wetland that, again, I'm not speaking for these committees. It's our opinion that the determination will be it's the type of wetland you can relocate on site. So the inside of that track is a wetland.
How can you relocate a wetland?
There's multiple classifications. This one is classified by law as a type that is relocatable. It's an intermittent wetland. And as evidence that it created itself over the last 10 years as it wasn't mowed. If it was mowed, it wouldn't be a wetland. It became one, which is different than, say, the Rumney Marsh or something like that, which has been there longer than all of us.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors? Councilor Yaramia.
Yeah, I would just, Mr. Dakin, just as you make all these considerations and figure out whether you have to move just keep in the back of your mind for me, if you will, how this may affect the energy efficiency of this building. And I don't know if we've asked you I thought we asked you in the past for some numbers on some of that long-term energy efficiency benefits for siting at Wonderland.
Yep.
I don't know if those are in the work, but just a little reminder while we're here that I would love to see those. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yep. Yeah, we've got that in the oven, just not ready to Just not ready with it yet. Right now, we're sort of all hands on deck for the submission, but understood.
All right, so we'll plan to have you up at the end of March. I believe the date's March 25th.
Sure.
All right. This will be placed on file. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all.
Calendar item number 25, late communication from Julie Demora requesting a letter from the City Council in support of the City of Revere's application to the American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity Grant Program.
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Julie DeMorrow, Department of Planning and Community Development. Thank you for taking this late motion. I submitted this letter of request from Council President Cogliandro on Thursday, so I'm glad to have this on the agenda. But basically, the department is applying for a RAISE grant. That's a federal infrastructure grant, and there's two components. It's a planning and construction grant. We are applying for a planning grant to study the ways in which we can improve Route 1A, Route 60, from Revere Street, North Shore Road, all the way up to Bell Circle. This is going to look at the environmental impacts, like road calming measures, making the roads safer for not only vehicles, but for pedestrians and cyclists. We're also going to be looking at how we're going to connect people to the potential site of the high school, but more importantly, the potential site of a new commuter rail station at Wonderland. MassDOT is currently getting ready to launch a feasibility study of how to actually put a station at Wonderland, and that is coming online probably in the next couple of months. They have about $4 million to work with to understand how it's all going to put into play these components. But tonight, I'm just really asking for a letter of support from the council. I believe it's in your agenda packet, what the grant does. And then what we would be doing if we were granted this grant, it probably wouldn't start until January of 2025, and it would be about an 18-month planning process. There's a lot of community engagement that needs to go into this as well. But right now, our ask as of today, I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, is going to be close to $1.8 million for the planning grant. Does anybody have any questions?
Councilor McKenna?
Thank you, Julie. Does this include Bennington Street?
It does not. We're just looking just at the area of Route 1A, Route 60, from Bell Circle all the way down to Revere Street and to North Shore Road. So one of the biggest issues that we're really trying to assist with finding a solution to is that such a commercial property in the middle of those two highways. I call it its own little island. And there's no secret to anyone here on the council or anybody here in the city, the number of students that we see crossing the highway, and they're crossing through that commercial district. They're crossing right over the highway because it's the quickest way to go. One of the things that we will be looking at is how do we make like a connected shared use path around that commercial district, and we'd be looking at like maybe using some of the underutilized green space at the end of Floyd Street. These are just pie in the sky ideas right now at Wood Ave, and how we make that ring connected so that it goes all the way around that parcel, comes back up Bell Circle. That way we're taking people out of the line of traffic. And then we'd look at ways to work with both private and public right-of-way to maybe put some footbridges or make better crossings or make some pedestrian islands actually in the middle of the highway so the kids aren't like dodging traffic. They're actually landing someplace in the middle of the road with a little buffer, a little separation. These are all the things that we would be studying to understand how do we move people safely across these two roadways.
Any other councilors? No. On the motion to approve a letter of support for the grant, all in favor? All.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to regular order of business.
Motions, calendar item number 16, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the mayor be requested to direct the city's communications liaison to translate all pamphlets and public notification documents into Italian.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Hi. Thank you, Mr. President. During my campaign, a lot of Italian residents were wondering why nothing is ever translated in Italian. So I promised them that I would put this motion in to add it to the communication, the pamphlets and everything that comes out, that it also be translated in Italian. As we, Italian immigrants, were one of the first people to settle here in Revere once it was Chelsea, back when it was called Chelsea. So right after the Native Americans, the Italians came in, and then the Germans came in. So there's still quite a few Italians in the city of Revere, and I would like to have them have pamphlets and stuff translated in their native language. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Come sta?
Bene, grazie.
Thank you for the Italian lesson. Are there any other councilors wishing to speak? No. All in favor, all opposed. So ordered. Manage.
Calendar item number 17, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the City Council award a certificate of commendation to Officer Peachy Chom and Officer Keenan Rezick in recognition of their quick-thinking actions to track down an individual involved in a financial scam aimed at senior citizens and return thousands of dollars in stolen money to a local couple.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to hold my comments until we do the commendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 18, motion presented by Councilor Argenzio that the City Council order to a public hearing an ordinance further amending food truck regulations.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. So basically, on the first day I took office, I heard from 3 restaurants on Broadway that the food trucks in front of the Legion Building and City Hall were affecting their lunchtime business and supper business. A couple of them think they may close for lunch now. And I don't think the spirit of the ordinance was to adversely affect brick-and-mortar restaurants. There's still a provision in the ordinance that pertains to special events, so they could still apply for permits for the Fall Festival or Sunday night concerts. The restaurants, I've alerted them, and they will all appear on the night of the public hearing. And also, excuse me, before Councilor McKenna would like to be put on this motion also. And she represents one side of Broadway, I represent the other. And there's some residents that have approached me on Reservoir Avenue and on Cheever Street that the sound of generators running all day long has affected their quality of life. So if we could bring this to a public hearing, I would appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's what I was going to say. I've gotten many complaints and calls from residents that live across the street or near Broadway, and they're hearing the generators. I think one's 8 horsepower, so I know it's not a big one, but they could hear the motor, and it's disturbing their quality of life. So I think this is a great ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, have heard from many residents, especially the ones that live right nearby here, and I'm sure we've all heard from them. And I agree with this motion wholeheartedly, and I look forward to the public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Anthony.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just curious if, I don't want to take any business away from anybody in this day and age, could we set up a designated area for the food trucks, whether it be in a big parking lot somewhere or down the beach even, just set up a designated area like when we do the sandcastles or something like that?
Point of
Thank you.
information.
State your point, Counselor.
Through you to Councilor Haas, the other locations that are in the ordinance, Shirley Ave, Beachmont Square, and down the beach won't be affected. It's just these two locations in front of City Hall and the Legion Building.
Thank you.
Any other counselors? Good evening, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emiliano Moreno, and my address is 660 Ocean Avenue in Revere. And I just want to just make a quick note. I think I was notified there wasn't going to be a big discussion, but just to kindly suggest that this can be reconsidered only because we're from the elote truck outside. Well, it's not really a truck; it's more like a cart. So we just sell just snacks, really, and drinks. But even then, I think our impact hasn't really been that. I don't think our impact is very negative to the community. I think, in fact, it's been very beneficial. There's many, there's a lot of more foot traffic when we're there. But I do hear the complaints about the other restaurants right now. Even we're struggling. We opened 3 places in Revere, thanks to, starting out as a food cart, thanks to this location. But right now we're struggling as well. We hear them, but I don't think we should use the food trucks as a scapegoat. There's many research online saying, it's actually beneficial for everyone. I don't think anyone else in the area sells what we do. In fact, I don't think there's like a Mexican restaurant in front of the American City Legion. So I'm sure, that could be something we work out. And of course, we just provide jobs for families. Like, it's not just us. We have 2 other families helping us with the cart. So, and they're all from Revere. So we just want to keep that going. And, we're on the same team, really, the restaurants. I also go over there to support them as well. So if, they have other things we don't have. So even I go. And definitely take a look at the research on food trucks. I think it shows just that they help out commerce.
Sir, may I ask you a question?
Yes, Mr. President.
How badly would this financially impact you if this was to be changed?
It would be catastrophic right now. Our restaurants really need that income. Like, I was just there, still in uniform, and it's been pretty slow all day. I just had to run up here and take a look, and we just need all that income we need. I know everyone in the restaurant industry right now is struggling. We even considered closing the North Shore Road location at one point. My mom, everyone is there working as a server because, things are just so expensive. We need to be out there in the front line sometimes.
And as a food truck owner, food cart owner, you've heard the complaints about noise and from other businesses, and I think you make a great point that you sell something that they don't. Just off the top of your head, what do you believe that you could change to make everybody happy in the area?
Oh, absolutely. And, we're not really strangers to these types of complaints. Like in Taqueria, I actually had a neighbor go and say, hey, you have this thing that makes noise. My dad and I worked on that for days, and we were able to finally get that noise down. So if anyone in the area, if they have your complaints, just come to us. We'll definitely, do something about it. But now that I know about it, I can definitely try other ways to power, the carts, for example, not use those diesel generators, use something electric. Either there could be a way to, install something electric or anything. I'm not really an expert, but I can definitely help out with the complaints about that, the noise, and yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for coming up here tonight. And I know this. This is a tough motion here because we're asking someone to give up something. I don't know. Thanks for coming up tonight, and it's going to public hearing. So
Yes, correct. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Jaramillo.
Do you know where you park right now, is that zoned commercial?
Oh, the
Zoning for where you're currently doing business?
Yes, the truck, sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, if you know whether this truck is currently zoned in a commercial district in the city?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay. Can you tell me how many people work for you, for your whole business?
Yes, including the restaurants?
Food trucks and restaurants?
Around 25 around there, yeah.
Of those 25, how many people live in Revere? Do you know, roughly?
I would even say like 19 around there, the vast majority, all of them kind of walk to the restaurants.
So
to work.
80%?
Yeah.
And you say they walk to the restaurant?
Yeah, many of them are locals, like in Shirley Avenue, like most of the people that work in the front with me, they're just out.
Nice.
They
And I
just
heard you
a few
live on
blocks.
Ocean Ave, is that right?
Yes, I live in Ocean
Your
Ave.
parents live in Revere?
Oh, yeah, I live with them right
you
now,
live
yeah.
together. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I met with several of the food truck people actually today, and I really didn't understand what was happening. They were talking about food trucks, noisy, and, being close to other restaurants, and I hate to pick on anybody, but one of the issues is one of the trucks is a huge truck, almost the size of a restaurant. And I've heard it and I've seen it. And they park in front of the Legion or in front of City Hall. And it is huge, it's very bright and noisy. These gentlemen have a smaller vehicle, so they're a very low impact on the neighbors. So I don't know if there's something we can work out with the counselor and the neighbors and the other restaurants to try and, finagle the bagel a little. So,
Mr. President, if I may, I don't want to.
Absolutely, Counselor Argento.
So, in the discussions with the restaurant owners, it's tough to pick one over the other. Nobody had a problem really with the cart that these gentlemen owned because it didn't impact their business because of what they sold. That other truck, and I believe the owners are here, it's like a major restaurant, not a major, but a full-blown restaurant, and they felt that was impacting their business, and especially the one across the street felt that items on both menus kind of overlapped, and that's in the ordinance that you're not supposed to set up in front of a brick-and-mortar restaurant with a like menu. It's supposed to be 250 feet away. So it was a question, a Mexican restaurant, a Peruvian restaurant, but I guess the menus, a lot of things are the same. So I'm willing to work something out. I certainly don't want to impact anyone's business or their livelihoods, but the spirit of the thing was not to adversely affect brick-and-mortar restaurants, and we do have to deal with the impact on the neighborhood with the generators running.
Thank you, Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm willing to work something out. I just, I hate to see somebody lose their business.
Just let Counselor Jaramillo make a statement, and
I have a few more questions for you, actually, from this conversation. So, in your restaurants, you sell Mexican food, is that right? Okay. Now, I understand the other food truck on Broadway also sells Mexican food. Am I wrong about that assumption? Is that right? Do you sell Mexican food? Okay. Do you feel threatened by that restaurant, by that food truck, or do you feel like the competition is good?
Oh, yeah, we haven't really had much issues. I don't think they sell corn, we're just neighbors, really. We don't have never had issues.
Good, that's good. So, so it sounds like you don't feel like they're going into your business, you're not going into theirs. You feel like there's a good balance here?
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about this truck? Wonderful. Now, some things have been said about the noise, and potentially something can be worked out. And I know this is going to public hearing, and maybe that's where really we should really have the discussions, but maybe we can plug something into a city outlet and they help us pay the bill or something like that. Would you be amenable to something like that?
Sorry, just the question again?
If we were able to get a hardwire electric connection to some place that was accessible to city electric.
Yeah.
Okay, just options. I mean, I'm not an electrician or anything, but
Zoning out right now, just.
yeah. No, that's
So
okay.
there's going to be a lot of
But there's going to be
conversation.
more conversation in public hearing. I just wanted to make sure that it's not that, people feel comfortable with the competition. And it sounds like, I mean, the food scene in Revere is becoming great, and I think it's in large part due to you guys, to them, and so I'm excited to talk more.
Councilors, let aside chatter. Councilors, this is going to be ordered to a public hearing on March 25th. Thank you to the business owners who came tonight. Very much appreciated.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor Argenzio, that the mayor...
Good evening, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Okay, it's Madeline Chino, Paula Chino. So this is my mother and me. We actually started this business in good faith. We had to close our restaurant at 124 Centennial Ave. For a year, we tried to look for a new establishment, so I decided to start my own business. This is actually my business with my mother. And we're trying really hard to be playful, play nice with everybody. We're doing Mexican food, which is pure Mexican. They're Peruvians. Our Mexican food is different sauces, different spices. Everything is totally different. The noise, I am sorry for the noise, but that's the generator. We can't do anything about it. I worked very hard in looking for a food truck. This was actually one of my dreams, to have my own food truck. And finally found this beautiful food truck that I have. It's a beautiful kitchen, like any other restaurant, purely clean, and I'm trying my hardest to work really hard. But if you take us off, for me, that's all I have, is that income and from my mother. That's all we have. We have nothing else but this. And for me, this is really hurtful because I'm trying really hard. And we're trying to see if we could go to the beach, for the sand castles, for everything else. But for me, this will be a major impact for me because this is the only income I have.
I understand, ma'am. I own a small business in the city, too. I know how difficult it is. And I promise you, if there's a way to figure this out that benefits everyone, we're going to do it. But I can tell you that I am not going to hurt a small business in this city. So I know that Councilor Argenzio is very flexible. We're going to work something out so that everybody's happy. But we are not, I promise you, we are not here to take your business away from you. It's not going to happen.
I have been feeling impacted. There was someone that actually took part of the generator 3 weeks ago. They cut off the cable. I had to buy a new generator. I don't know who it was. We had to look for it. I have now 2 generators because we had to get the other one fixed. But we had to buy a new one because they damaged the first one. I'm not going to go to the police station and make a fuss of it. I'm not going to do any of it.
You absolutely should, because
So
that
what
is
I did
unacceptable
in
behavior.
good faith, I just, you know what? Just buy a new one. And that's what I did. And that's what I have, a brand new generator. The truck is it's an old truck, but everything inside is brand new.
Councilor McKenna.
I'm sorry you're getting upset. I just want to say that we, as 11 people here, we are very sympathetic to what you're saying, and we don't want to hurt you. We want a solution, that's all, because there are other neighbors that are getting affected from your generator. That's my point. It's not the businesses, it's the generator that people are calling me for because of the noise. But we do not want to hurt you, and we don't want to take away your business. So we will find a solution. We're going to have a public hearing on this, President?
Yes,
So
March
we'll
24th.
come up with a solution,
Okay,
okay? Don't get upset, please don't get upset. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Next order of business, Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 19, motion presented by Councilor Argenzio, that the Mayor and Chief of Infrastructure, Don Chiarmella, be requested to return the water and sewer discount program for seniors to last year's rate structure as follows: 30% discount for consumption of 30,000 gallons or less, 20% discount for consumption of 30,000 1 gallon to 70,000 gallons, and 10% discount for the consumption of 70,001 gallons or more.
Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. About 2 weeks ago, the city announced that applications for the senior citizen water discount program would be available March 1st. And with that, they said that look for changes to the qualifications. When it was advertised in the 2 local newspapers, I immediately got calls from 2 seniors. They both were very upset that they no longer qualified for their senior discount. One of the seniors explained to me that her and her husband in their 70s live in a house, and they provide housing for their daughter and 3 grandchildren. The city's new qualifications basically stops any discount for the use of 60,000 gallons or more. I'd like to ask the city to go back to last year's qualifications. The average person that uses water is 20,000 gallons per year. Families that are 5, 6, 7, 8 people could in no way reach that quota. And one of the things we've been discussing for a couple of years is seniors trying to hang on to their homes, trying to age in place, and this small benefit helped in that. This is kind of counterproductive to doing that. So I'd like to see the qualification set back to last year, and this at least gives every senior that's 65 years of age and older, lives in a 1, 2, or 3 family house, and is owner occupied. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you. I appreciate this motion. I just think that it requires going for a financial analysis by our rules of order. So, but I can sympathize with the mother with the grandkids, and there's a lot of that going around. So,
Just a point. This is just going back to last year's qualifications, and it's been like that for years.
Yeah, no, I understand, but when we spend $5,000 or more, we have to go for a financial analysis.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilors. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President. I actually think it's a great motion. Mr. Visquet, would you happen to know why it was changed by any chance?
Name and address, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Richard Visquet, 281 Broadway, City CFO. We did some analysis of the program over the last 3 years with the new mayor administration, and I'll just give you some figures, and you can do what you wish with them, but we had 1,027 people qualifying fiscal year 2021. Average use was about 49,000 gallons. The mean, which is the midpoint of the 1,027, about right around the 500 point, was about 45,000 gallons. Fiscal year 2022, we had about 49,000 average as well. That mean was about 43,500, 1,147 applicants. Year 3, 2023, we've had 1,249 applicants. Average use was 47,960 with the mean of 4,300. We were asked to look at this program. Again, it's for 1, 2, and 3 families, and I'm well aware of the, the ability to try to keep the seniors in home, but, some of these properties are 2 and 3 families, which are actually considered income properties. So we try to come up with a modification that would actually encourage conservation. The MWRA Communities Act is looking for more conservation. We ran the numbers, and we thought it would be a better plan to give a steeper discount for the seniors who use less water and tear that off to 20% discount up to 60,000 gallons, which is well above the average and the mean. But, using over 60,000 gallons isn't typically just the senior husband and wife or such. That's indicative of some additional usage from other people, probably rent payers. And, I don't want to get into all the what ifs, but the idea is that if we're really trying to help the seniors that are in their single families, we want to make a steeper discount for them. So we came up with this program. Of course, it's the first year. It can definitely use maybe some other sets of eyes and some other suggestions, but the idea is that, when you're using 70, 80, 90, 100, 120,000 gallons of water, is it really a senior discount or a subsidy of rental property? And there's a delicate balance. So we're trying to provide the best discount. We're not trying to hurt any seniors. We're in fact trying to increase that discount for the seniors who are in a single-family house, who typically, if it's 2 seniors in a house, I don't think you see them using 100,000 gallons a year. But again, to Councilor Agenzio's point, we're open to suggestions. This is just a program that we thought we can offer steeper discounts for more, encourage water conservation, because again, the MWRA Communities Act is asking cities and towns to look into that. So we knew it would come with some pushback. Changes never easy, but certainly willing to sit and try to get some more data. I mean, I do have a bunch of data on the program. We try to tighten up what you need to show to validate that you're there. I mean, we found when we did a little audit that, some people were dead and still getting it. There are other people who may or may not own that property. So we're just trying our best to administer a good program for the seniors, but certainly not trying to hurt anybody. Thank you.
Do you have a rough idea how many people lost that benefit?
I mean, I don't know, because we just rolled it out, and I guess they'd have to qualify this year. Like I said, I got the data for the last 3 years. We're certainly way above the mean and the average of this. And again, not to be too presumptuous, but I think the houses that are using 70, 80, 100,000 gallons are more than likely 2 families or 3 families. And again, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to help the seniors, or are we subsidizing income property, whether it's owned by a senior or not? But that's a struggle.
Point of information, please.
State your point, Councilor.
I looked at the budget book that you provided to us when we got elected, and in that there was a synopsis of the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund. It's a $34 million fund, and there was a line item in there that this cost the city $210,000 last year for this benefit that the seniors got. And I don't believe $210,000 out of a $34 million budget, insignificant basically to us, but to these seniors that rely on it, I think it's important. The Water Sewer Enterprise Fund also enjoys a $1.7 million free cash surplus. So I don't think the fund is in trouble. I also called the MWRA and looked into this act because there was a mention of it on the website. There was a tremendous amount of information about water conservation, low-flow toilets, low-flow shower heads, leak detection, how to water your lawn when there's a drought. There was nothing in there about stopping a discount to seniors. Now, I understand what you say about 2 and 3 families. A owner-occupied 2 or 3 family, maybe this is how those residents, those owners are surviving. They're getting the rent from they are rental income properties, I give you that, but maybe that's how they survive. Maybe that's how they hold on to that home. So with this insignificant amount of money, in my opinion, I don't think we need to take this benefit away from a few seniors that need it.
No, I understand completely, Counselor, and certainly the intent is not to try to balance the budget on the backs of the seniors. I was just pointing out some of the problems with the program itself. Again, three families are not even, they're a different class when you're trying to pull the building permit and such. So, I mean, if someone has a two-family and they have their daughter or son living there, but at what point does it become just subsidizing on the backs of the other ratepayers? So I don't know if I have the greatest answer, but I do want to make a point that we only got 284,000 certified in water and sewer this year. So the cushion in that fund is diminishing. And again, this isn't meant to be some panacea to that whole thing, but we are, our reserves and our free cash and our water and sewer has been going down every year. And we, I think the council knows we put $1.5 million of ARPA funds to subsidize rates, which goes away. So we're going to have to take some serious looks at water and sewer rates as a whole. But again, I appreciate what you're saying.
Right.
I don't have a perfect answer. We did try to steepen the discount for people who use less money, and I think that is the spirit of what we're trying to do and help those seniors and not necessarily overhelp those who may be generating income from that. But I think we're happy to sit down and discuss it.
Thank you very much. So if you can just indulge me once more, I have a little point of information. I looked at that steeper discount. If you use 25,000 gallons of water, your bill for the year is $600. So adding 5% basically comes out to $30. So it is a benefit, which could certainly stay there, but that lower tier is only a $30 increase for those homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you, and this is going to be referred to Councilor Silvestri's Ways and Means Subcommittee.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 20, motion presented by Councilor Zambudo, that the City Council President be requested to direct all subcommittee chairs to limit deliberations at their subcommittee meetings to only members of the subcommittee and the participating public so as not to violate the open meeting law. When councilors who are not members of a subcommittee are allowed by a subcommittee chair to deliberate at subcommittee meetings, they are effectively creating a quorum of the City Council as opposed to a quorum of the subcommittee. The appropriate time for a councilor to deliberate on a matter not within their subcommittee's jurisdiction is when a subcommittee report is given by a chair during a regular City Council meeting.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is pretty self-explanatory. We're breaking the law, and I'm just trying to correct it. So, let's call a spade here, and that's what it is. We're breaking the open meeting law, and we either want to do something about that or we don't, and I certainly do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't agree with this at all. I go to every single subcommittee meeting, and I have the respect for the members to not talk until the end. But I have things to say, and some of them are important and some of them aren't. So I just do not agree with this at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I agree with Councilor McKenna. I think it's our job as elected officials to show up to as many meetings as we can, get as much information as we can for the people. And although we may not sit on a chair, our opinions matter. We're elected by the public to come up here and to get as much information as we can. And when you come to a subcommittee meeting and you hear the report and you hear all the information given, you then give a educated vote when you vote up all in favor. I apologize to the council to my left for our little disagreement. The subcommittee I was not sitting on, I'm assuming that's where this motion came from. But for the past 20 some odd years, this hasn't been an issue. Why now? Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. President. I find this interesting because most recently, a motion that I presented was sent to subcommittee, and it happens to be a subcommittee that I am not a member of. And I thought that was interesting, and I would like to go to that subcommittee meeting because it's my motion. And so I'd like to have the opportunity to be there. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with this. I think that as long as we're all respectful of one another, we give the respect to the committee members, the subcommittee members, and if the meetings are being held in public, I'm not sure there is an issue. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I don't agree with this either. I've been doing this for 24 years, and this has never come up. But technically, we're not violating any open meeting law. We have 5 members of a subcommittee. If a city councilor wants to come to a committee meeting and sits up here, you have 6 councilors up here. So you're establishing the 6 members of a city council at one meeting, whether they speak or not. Even if they just sit here, you've already established that legal number for a quorum. As Councilor Kelly said, if she has a motion and her not being on the committee, that means she can't come up and talk about the motion. That's not true. Counselor, I don't bother you.
Gentlemen.
Don't bother me.
Councilor Novoselsky, please finish your point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Without being interrupted, thank you.
Agreed,
Counselor,
thank you.
Mr. President. So that means the counselor is here and is adding to a city council and making a city council quorum. I just don't agree with it. You're shutting people up. It's a public meeting. It was established as a public meeting. It was advertised as a public meeting. We can come, we should continue to come and be able to speak anytime we want after each committee member that has his say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Yaramillo.
You know, surprisingly, this is not something I'm entirely against, Councilor Zambudo, but I think we have far more edits that we need to make to this motion, which is why I would request that this goes into legislative affairs where we can all have a nice, robust discussion about it. I think that's where I'm at on that.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would it be appropriate if councilors showed up and spoke from the other side of the podium? That way, they'd still be a member of the public, they'd still be able to make their feelings known, and still be able to participate, but technically not be up here as a city councilor. How's that? Okay.
Permission to speak from the chair. Thank you. I believe that this has merit for 2 reasons. One, it can get confusing to the public to know who is on which subcommittee. I agree with a lot of the points that you have spoken about tonight. I agree that if it's your motion, it would be kind of strange for you not to speak on it. I also agree that if you're the ward councilor, that this is affecting your ward, it's kind of strange for you not to speak about it. However, my main concern is if this is a violation of the open meeting law, we should get something concrete that says that's exactly what it is. And I don't think we should make a decision on this until we know that for sure. Thank you. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. President. In no way am I trying to shut anybody up, and Councilor Argenzio hit it perfectly. I've got a motion in that's in the Ledge Affairs Committee, or one committee that I'm not on, and I'm going to come up and speak from the podium because I won't be breaking the open meeting law. It's as simple as that. Nobody's trying to shut anybody up. I'm going to come and speak on my motion that's in a committee that I'm not on, and I'm going to speak from the podium. But I'm not looking to, and in no way was this against anybody personally. Trust me, this has nothing to do with that. And so it's simply we don't sit at this dais when we're not on the committee, and then we're not breaking the open meeting. We can have 5 councilors sitting in the front row there. We're not breaking the open meeting law. That's all it is. And you know, you can disagree with it, but there are laws that we can disagree with, but we have to obey. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I know when we are at subcommittee, I know either the clerk or the president, the chairman, introduce the committee members right in the beginning. So if that's really complex to the public, then I'm sorry. But I know for a fact that when I'm at a subcommittee meeting, I wait until all the members speak and then I speak. So I just don't understand. We've been doing this, how long have you been on the council? Councilor Zambudo? We've been doing this for 25 years now?
We have, yes.
So, I mean, if it comes up
Doesn't make it
now,
right.
I don't know. Thank you.
If I may, like I said, I want to make sure that we're not violating anything. And that's the number one reason for me that I would like to send this to Legislative Affairs. We do have a member of the audience wishing to speak. Good evening, sir, and name and address for the record.
Ed Terrell, 70 Sewell Street, Revere, Mass. Would it be helpful to get the opinion of the city solicitor on this?
That's exactly who I would ask.
Just see what's really going on, then make it real easy. Thank you.
I couldn't agree more. Councilor Yaramia?
Yeah, so can we make a motion to move this to Legislative Affairs and ask that the city solicitor or the city clerk give us some guidance as to this particular motion?
Does anyone have any objections to putting this into subcommittee?
Solicitor, sounds like the solicitor.
Legislative Affairs.
Great. Thank you.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the mayor request the initiative, read DCR, to investigate the feasibility of installing a speed bump on Oak Island Street as a matter of public safety.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Motion speaks for itself.
Any other councilors? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
There was a couple corrections on this motion as well. Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the mayor request the DCR to install a traffic camera at the end of Oak Island Street at Revere Beach Boulevard to deter motorists from making an illegal left turn from Oak Island Street onto the boulevard.
Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Motion speaks for itself.
All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilors Hass and McKenna that the mayor request the police department to place a portable speed reader sign for the span of 1 month while switching directions after 2 weeks on Winthrop Avenue along the stretch that runs from Sunny Myers Park to Broadway to collect data to see if a digital speed limit sign is necessary.
Councilor Hess.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this would be a month-long plan where they would monitor the speed along Winthrop Avenue that runs from the senior center on one end to Sunny Myers Park down the other end. And in my time on Winthrop Ave, I've noticed cars flying through the crosswalks. Taking the left back onto Winthrop Ave after the stop sign is almost a blind turn. So I've seen people pull out there and almost get hit. It's just a high-speed traffic area that I'd like to see looked at. Thank you.
Any other councilors? All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Council President Cogliandro that the City Council award certificates of commendation to the middle school girls basketball team and their coach for winning this year's GBL championship with an undefeated record of 12-0.
Permission to speak from the chair? Thank you. I will save my comments for the evening of the ceremony. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. This concludes the City Council meeting. Thank you for all those who attended. Thank you to the council. Meeting is adjourned.